service all about over here. Web service is all about integrating a different applications. Okay, integrating a different application. When we are saying integrating in the sense, why we need to integrate, what is the use of integrating? Okay, why this web service has come into the picture, okay, in the IT industry. Okay, so just to understand that one, we will have an analogy for that one. So we will relate it to the real-time scenarios. Okay, so that when we can clearly understand what is the web services. Okay, let's have a picture over here, so which will give you a clear idea why the web services has come into the picture. Okay, for example, you take, okay, I'll take a person. Okay, for example, this is a person, X person, okay, and another person is there. Okay, assume that these are the persons, two persons, okay, or else you can assume it as a services, some system also. Okay, for example, you take this person as a X person, okay, and this person as a Y. Okay, we'll take it. Sorry. Y person. Okay, when they want to communicate each other, they must know the common language. Okay, as if the person is this X person is belongs to some other region, he don't know the common language to communicate the Y person, so he can't communicate. But so what the X person is expecting from the Y person is some service. Okay, he is trying to request some service from the Y person, okay, to get the work done. But here the Y person can't understand the language what the X person speaks. Similarly, what the X person speaks, that Y person also doesn't know. Why, it's like a vice versa. Whatever the X person speaks, the Y person doesn't know, and whatever the Y person speaks, the X person can't understand. So here is the problem. Okay, so to sort out their problem, okay, assume that this X person is from China. Okay, assume that this Y person is from US. Okay, the Y person can understand only English, the X person can understand only the Chinese. Okay, in such situations, how the problem can be resolved? Okay, in such situations, so the only one common language has to be used to understand. So what is the common language over here? Okay, we can say that English. Okay, instead this Y person from US, we can assume it from India only. Okay, so he speaks Hindi, he speaks in Chinese. He don't know, both of them don't know the common language. Okay, so to build the gap between these two, okay, to get the work done, so we need to bring in a one common language which they can understand very easily. Okay, it is not mandatory that they have to learn the language. Okay, the third person can be involved in between these two persons, okay, who can be a translator over here, right? In such situations, what we can do? Sorry. Okay, here they have to communicate to each other. How they are going to communicate now? They are going to communicate using a language. So here what we understood, when there are two different systems are there, okay, to transfer the request and the response vice versa, or from one place to another place, they need to have a one common language. So why we are using the common language here to resolve our issue is because the two systems are different. Here X is different and the Y is different, but the mode of the communication is, the mode is a communication, and for the mode of the communication is the language, right? So likewise, the communication, the gap between the two systems can be resolved using a one sort of a communication which is very common to across all the places, right? Now here what is our language? What will be our language over here? The language will be here is a common language is English. Here he knows Chinese. Okay. Here he knows Hindi. But what this person has to do over here? So they can't understand their language each other, right? Here, so what he has to do? The other third party can come into the picture, or they must learn the common language. Okay, they must learn a common language which will be useful for them. Okay, here English is the common language which they can understand. It is a standard across the world. Now just we'll come back to the IT world now. Why the web services has come into the picture, right? Here assume that this X is a system, it is a service provider, okay, or a service. We will say that is a service requester. I'll say requester, and this is a provider. Okay. Here service requester is sending a request to the provider asking for some service. Okay. Here this provider has got some services in it. Okay. Like he is some person, he is offering some services like plumbing, okay, construction, building, something. Assume that he got some XYZ services to provide. Okay. And the requester is requesting for that service. Okay. So when he sends a request, how this request will go and what kind of information he is carrying through the request. Okay. Similarly, when a X person is talking to the Y person, okay, the mode of communication was English, but whatever he is sending the data, okay, that also be in a standardized format. It has to be in a grammatical order only. Whatever he speaks, if he can't speak in a grammatical way, okay, then the Y person can't understand, right? Likewise, when a requester when you come to the in web services concept, really, when a requester sends a request to the provider, okay, so the message which is passing from the request to the provider, it should be in a format, proper format, and here the mode of the communication will be HTTP over the HTTP network, right? And the protocol HTTP protocol is used to transfer the request from requester to the service provider. And how the data has to be transferred? Blindly we can't transfer the data from the request to the provider. The provider has to understand the format, right? So for that only the SOAP protocol is used. Protocol SOAP is used to format the data which is sent by the requester in a proper way and send it to the provider so that he can understand. Again, he can revert back the service request to the requester, right? So that is why here what we are trying to understand over here is, if an application or if a system is built in different languages, they can communicate each other using a web services. Okay, now we understood what is a web services in a common language. So, okay, we have taken an example of two persons who don't know the common language. Okay, for that what they have done is they learn the one common language, English. Okay, if there is a requester is there, one system is there. Okay, sorry, there are two systems. One is a requester, one is a provider. Okay, here the provider is got some services to offer to the external world. So to access that one, what the requester has done, he has connected to the provider, okay, through some media, or else he accessed overnight. So there is one more concept is there, UDDI, that will come to later part. Okay, now the requester has sent the request to the provider and he got the information. But while transferring the request, what kind of mode he has used? He used the HTTP protocol for transferring the data from one place to another place, and he used the SOAP protocol for a message formatting, the format to. Okay, now when we come another example we will take now. So assume that the requester application is developed in a different languages. Assume that this requester application is developed in .NET, okay, and the provider application is developed in Java. Okay, now these are two different platforms. .NET is different platform and Java is. Both are developing only. Both the languages are used to develop the applications. But the coding style in Java and in .NET are both are different, right? So when they want to communicate each other, what we need to do over here? Whenever he sends a request, okay, the .NET application sending a request to the Java application, okay, how can it understand? The programming style which will be totally different, right? So what happens here, when a .NET application sends a request to the Java application, so that they have to have a common language to understand. So here is the XML file comes into the picture. So that's a SOAP only. The message will be carried in a XML file from .NET application to the Java application. Okay, he sends, the .NET application is sending a request in a XML SOAP format to the Java application. Again, the Java application, what it is doing, it is serving the request and responding back the service request back to the Java application over here. Okay, now what we understood here is any applications which are developed in different sort of languages can be communicated each other using a web services. Okay, what is a web service now? So web service is all about is a system using which a for example, there are a lot many definitions are there in the Google. If you find what is a web service, you can't find a single definition. Okay, the web service is all about integrating a different sort of applications using a SOAP, WSDL, and UDDI. Okay, now we'll come to we'll see how they can understand. So, okay, now here there is they are talking to each other directly. When they have a direct interaction, no, they can talk each other directly. Okay, now you are in contact with me, I'm in contact with you, we can talk each other directly. But you don't know me and I don't know you. In such situations, you need a training. I need a trainees to train. But here, when I don't know, when I'm unable to get the trainees to train, and you are not getting the trainer to get the trained, right? So now you approach the QAtestingtraining.com. I also approaching the QAtestingtraining.com to provide me the trainees, right? So what is happening over here? What is happening over here? So when I said this one, sorry, when I said this QAtestingtraining.com, and I said QAtestingtraining.com, here that QAtesting training is becoming a centralized repository for both of us. Okay, the trainee and trainer are getting registered over here for their purpose. Okay, the trainee is requesting for the training. Okay, the trainer is ready to provide the service. Sorry. Okay, here QAtestingtraining.com is a centralized repository for you. So where you can get the service done, right? You can get the service done, or you can request for the service. So you are accessing the trainer through QAtestingtraining.com. Assume that he is a trainee over here as of now, yourself as a trainee. Okay, here I am the trainer. Okay, what I am doing here is I am registering myself into QA testing training.com, and you are accessing me through QA testing training.com. So that is called, it's a centralized repository for all. Okay, wherein the service providers are a, sorry, here is the trainer, here is the trainee, here is the trainee. It's a little vice versa. I'm the service provider, right? The QA testing training.com is also service provider. Okay, here I am registering myself in a QA testing training.com. Okay, and you are accessing me from the QA testing training.com. So I registered myself here, and you also approached QA testing training.com to reach me. So that is another way. So what I am trying to say over here is, in the IT industry, or if you want to publish yourself, your services to the external world, it has to be registered in a standardized registry format, that is UDDI, Universal Description Integration. Okay, about that we will discuss later in a coming sessions, why it is. So why it is, it's a very simple, it will not carry out any importance as of now. Where is, it's a UDDI, it's a directory where the person who want to publish his services has to register his services over here through an okay, he has to register over here in a UDDI. UDDI. Okay, he has to register all in UDDI. Okay, then the service requester has to access all the services registered in UDDI using a WSDL, so Web Services Description Language. So that will be an URL to access all the service provider. You can directly, if you have a direct interaction with the service provider, you can directly access with him. Okay, you can get the URL and you can import that to get the requests. If he is not a direct interaction, if you don't have a direct interaction, he has registered, you know that he has registered his services in the UDDI, then what you can do is you can directly communicate to the UDDI by accessing the WSDL file. By using a WSDL file, you can access all the services from the service provider. Okay, now what and all we have learned here is, what is a web service? Okay, web services is to integrate the different sort of applications using a SOAP, WSDL and a UDDI. Here, what is a SOAP? It's a standard message format which carries the data from requester to the provider. Again, here, and the WSDL. The WSDL is used to get the all the services registered in a UDDI by the provider. The provider has registered all his services in UDDI. To access that one, we need some sort of communication. Okay, so to access that one, we need a WSDL file. Okay, that it will be an URL link. So which we will be using, which imports all the service requests into our system. From there, the requester can send the request to the provider, and the provider serves your request back in a XML format only. Here in the web services, all the communication happens using a in a XML format only. We have to say that as a SOAP XML format. Okay, and what and all we have learned? Okay, so this is all about the concept of web services. Okay, overall, it is to integrate the different platform application, we can say the heterogeneous applications to each other. Okay, understanding to a real example. Okay, we'll take in. Okay, now we'll take in this sample example. Okay, I hope all of you will to see this screen. Let us consider a small example over here. Okay, here is the order system. Okay, we understood our web services concept in overall. Okay, now we will try to understand what is a SOA. Okay, SOA is nothing but what we are trying here. We are trying to understand what is a SOA, service oriented architecture. Okay, why it is been called as a service oriented architecture. Okay, we will understand that now. Now here you see, here in this application, in this screen, let me enlarge it. Here we have a order system, payment gateway, stock system, and the delivery system. Here we have a 4 systems. Okay, these may be developed in different languages. Okay, and these are serving different purposes. They are developed for different purposes. Okay, they got their own services to provide. Okay, order system has got some services, and the payment gateway has got some services, and stock has got some services to provide, as well as the delivery. Okay, here the overall idea is to that when you place an order, okay, you have to get the delivery. That's it. The main concept is that only. But internally so many things happens. So when you go to the eBay and place an order, what is your intention? You are placing a request to get a product from the eBay. So you have to get the delivery at in a required time, in a meantime. Okay, so what is happening internally that you don't know. Okay, how the request is passing. Okay, while passing the request from one place to another place, it has to pass through so many systems, right? Now assume that here is the order. You are ordering a product and you are sending a request to the order system. Okay, here you are sending a request to the order system. Here order system, what it does, it will take a request information. Okay, and after taking the request information, it will send a message to the stock system in a SOAP XML format. Okay, in that again what it does, it will look for a availability. Okay, your request is just sending the request to the order system to ask for the product availability. Okay, if the product is there, it will deliver. You already placed it. So it is an internal mechanism where the order system is simultaneously sending the messages to stock system and the payment gateway system. Okay, first it will check the availability of the system, availability of the products in a stock system, and it will look for the balance available for the credit details we have provided, whether the bank, any bank. Okay, if the stock is available, okay, it will send the response back to the order system. If the balance is available, okay, it will create the order and it will deliver it to the delivery system. Okay, and at the end it will be delivered to the end user. Okay, so where this concept has come, the service oriented architecture. Okay, the service oriented architecture, now the name itself says we are organizing different services in a well manner to get our purpose done. Okay, it's architecture only. So when you go for a construction of an house, we need an architect to give a map. Okay, the blue map is required, the architectural map is required to build our house in a systematic way, right? Here also we are bringing in different services together to form one business application. Okay, so that is why it is been called as a service oriented architecture. So here we are bringing different services. Its order system is one different service, and the payment gateway is one service, and the stock system is one service, and the delivery system is one service. Okay, these are clubbed together to bring in one specific functionality. Okay, We don't know what is happening inside the stock system, what is happening in the delivery system and payment gateway system. That is black box for us. Okay, so just we are passing a request details and we are getting the response details at the end. That is what we are going to check. Okay, so whether if they are not integrated, we need to check it out, right? The integration and all will be done by the integration engineers, whether these systems are integrated or not. So this is to give you the an information on what is a SOA, that is service oriented architecture. Okay. Okay, so here what happens is that the check, even if it is available, the stock is available or not available, whatever it has to do, it will take care of. If the stock is not available, where the end user, he will get an information. Right now there is no stock is available, or if the payment is low, that means there is no balance inside the payment system. Then it will say that there is no enough balance to place the order. Okay, that will all be considered. Okay, that all the manipulation of the data and manipulation of cache and all will be taken care internally. Okay, the end user doesn't bother about that time what is happening inside it. Okay, so this all in these all services are clubbed together to bring a specific functionality. Okay, that is placing an order and delivering the order to the end user. So that is called a service oriented architecture, wherein different services are clubbed together to bring a specific functionality. Okay, now let us understand in this one. SOA stands for service oriented architecture. So this is an architecture for building business applications using loosely coupled services. This is more important word. Okay, loosely coupled. Here in our system, in the given picture, what are the loosely coupled services? Here the order system is loosely coupled, payment gateway is loosely coupled, stock system is loosely coupled, and delivery system is also loosely coupled. These are already these are all independent services. So these are clubbed together to form one business application. Okay, and all these loosely coupled services act like a black box for one and each other. Okay, the order system is one black box. Okay, the order system doesn't know what is there inside the stock system. Just it will send a request to the stock system. Okay, it is just asking whether you have something in you to provide. Okay, whether the stock is available or not. Just it is sending the it is asking for the information. That's it. Okay, when sending the request, okay, what it does is it will send that request in a SOAP XML format. So in that SOAP XML format, it will have some parameters to check the availability of the stock. In that, okay, the stock system may be having the huge number of stock. Okay, the huge number of products, many more products are there. We don't know the category of the products. So TVs, clothes, shoes, whatever it is there. Okay, okay, just what the order system does is check the availability for this category for this product. That's it. Okay, what the stock system does is it will take the parameters from the SOAP XML and it will process back to the order system in a SOAP XML format only again. Okay, because these are loosely coupled services. Those could be developed in the order system, could have been developed in any language. Okay, we don't know in what language they are developed. The loosely coupled services would have been developed in different languages. Okay, so which acts like these black boxes acts like a black boxes and can be organized to achieve a specific functionality by linking together. Okay, so we are integrated all these black box applications. Okay, sorry, black box services together to bring in a specific functionality. Okay, so that is all about SOA. So what and all we understood now. So what is a web services? Okay, and what is a SOA, and what is also SOAP? Okay, and what is WSDL? Okay, so this WSDL concept comes into the picture when you have centralized repository concept. Okay, when you have some services to provide, okay, and I want those services to be accessed from you. If you have a direct interaction between both of us, then we can talk each other. Okay, you will have to provide your link, and you have to provide a link so that I can access the services that you are offering. So what is that link contains? That's a name. Link is called as a WSDL URL, so which will provide us the services. Okay, that can be accessed directly, or that you can register yourself into the UDDI registry. Okay, it's a centralized repository wherein all the publishers of the services, no, they have to register there. Okay, in a standard format. About that we will see later in detail. Okay, here is another pictorial representation to explain you what exactly the web service. Okay, here you see the service. You can say service requester. Okay, is a requester. Is sending a request to the, so he's a provider, service provider, and the service requester, and he's sending a request message and he's getting the message. Okay, here the WSDL file. So when this service provider has registered his services inside the UDDI, and the service requester is accessing through a WSDL. Okay, if you want to have the definitions, you can see here. Okay, the term web services describes a standardized way of integrating a web-based applications using XML. So why it's a free form? XML is a free form language. It doesn't have any syntactical representation. Only it has, you can define your own tags. Okay, but here in this web services we are using a SOAP format. It's a SOAP is a one protocol. SOAP is a protocol, and the WSDL is a, it's not a language. Okay, so don't get confused. The WSDL is said as a web services description language. Okay, we are not, it's not a complete language. We are not developing anything using that one. It's a contract between the service provider and the service consumer. Okay, service requester and the service provider. It's a contract between those two only. Okay, saying that, so I am ready to offer only these two, these services only. Okay, so it is a contract between the service provider and the service consumer. When they use the WSDL URL from any of other, okay, either service provider, either service requester, then only specific services will be offered to the service requester. And UDDI, it's a open standard. It's a registry wherein all the providers has to register their services. Okay, in detail, this term web service describes a standardized way of integrating a web-based applications using XML, WSDL, and UDDI, open standard over a internet protocol. How the transmission has to happen? We need to have a one internet protocol, right? That is a HTTP. Okay, we are using a HTTP transport protocol to transfer the message from requester to the provider and back from the provider to requester. And here web services doesn't have any GUI. Okay, web services instead share the business logic, data, and processing through the programmatic interface across a network. Okay, so as I communicated earlier, the web services are not tied to any operating system or any programming languages. So web services are independent of languages and the operating systems. Okay, Java application can talk with the Perl application, and the Windows application talk with the Unique application, etc. And the web services platform elements. Okay, what a web services contains. Okay, the SOAP protocol. Okay, which formats the data, and the universal description, discovery, and integration is the registry wherein all the services will be registered by the service provider. Okay, and the WSDL is URL, which it's a contract between the service provider and the service consumer, okay, using which they can come into the page, they can access the limited, or they can build up a contract saying that I can offer these many services only, I can ask for only specified service from the service provider. Okay. Okay. Now what is a SOAP? SOAP is a protocol for accessing a web services. There is a web service, it's a protocol, but here it has got some format. Okay, as I told, when an X person is talking to the Y person, okay, even they know the English, okay, even though they know the English each other, if it is not in a grammatical format, so there will be a misunderstanding between the X person and the Y person, right? So similarly, there they need to have a proper grammar. They need to speak in a proper way, so they have to use the grammatical, then they should talk in a grammatical way. So the grammatical way here in the web services concept is the SOAP protocol. Okay, so if you go over for a SOAP protocol, it formats your request message. Okay, it formats your request message. We are formatting our request message using a SOAP protocol. Okay, about that we'll see in detail later part when we come to the tool. Okay, SOAP is a protocol for accessing a web services, and the SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Okay, as the name says, it is accessing the messages. It's a protocol. Again, it's a communication protocol, and this is used to send the messages. Okay, and as we discussed in the previous slides, SOAP is designed to communicate via internet. So what it does, it is to be communicated via internet, and for that we are using a HTTP protocol. Okay, SOAP is a platform independent and a language independent, and it allows to get through the firewalls. And XML, SOAP is a XML way of defining what information get sent and how. So the SOAP request looks like a XML only. Okay, it's like a protocol. The protocol, okay, we are using XML only. That XML we are putting in a proper way. Okay, so that any system can understand. So for that proper way, what we are doing, the proper way we are making to make it in a proper way, we are using another set of rules. The protocol is nothing but a set of rules. We are following that rules which are defined in the SOAP protocol to define a request information and the response information. Okay, here these are the building blocks of a SOAP. Okay, here a SOAP message is an ordinary XML document containing the following elements. Here it contains an envelope. So how do we identify the request is a SOAP request only? Okay, when you go to the SoapUI tool, or when you got a request, when you see the XML file as a request XML, so how do you identify it's a SOAP request only? So we have another web services also, REST web services. Okay, how do you differentiate? The REST doesn't carry anything. It doesn't have XML at all. It's a different way of web services, and SOAP is different. It is completely XML based web services. So when we see that XML, how do we identify it's a SOAP protocol only, SOAP XML only? Okay, that we need to look for these elements in that. Okay, how a programming language will have some predefined elements to be there, okay, to identify. Likewise, in this SOAP, no, we need to look for these things to identify that XML as a SOAP XML only. Okay, we should have an envelope defined, an element that defines XML document as a SOAP message. The envelope element says that it's a SOAP request, SOAP message. Okay, here you see here this one. This is the complete XML. Okay, one sample XML which formats a request. Okay, Here you see a SOAP message envelope. Here you see envelope. Here it says in this envelope element we are describing the things. What kind of XML is this one? Okay. Here it is saying that it's a SOAP. Okay. Again, header element that contains the header information. Okay. About the XML information. So again, it will be an optional. Header is a optional. If you do not have this header also, not an issue. And the important thing is the body that contains all the call and response information. This is the body. Okay. The body. This is the most important part of the SOAP request. So which contains all the data. So which has to send the message and it has to get the message back from the service provider. Within that we have a fault message. Fault element contains the errors and the status information. Okay. So fault, again, it's an optional. If you can have it, you can have it, or you don't have it. But it is good to have a fault element in the SOAP request. Okay. It won't be visible sometimes. It will be backendly put into the WSDL. Okay. So why this fault element is required? The fault element is required when you are sending a request from requester side to a provider. Whether the request is coming back to the service requester in a proper way or not, we need to check it. If it is not coming in a proper way, we are going to display an error message saying that the response is not correct. Okay, it's a failure. There is a problem happened. The communication problem is there. Authentication is required. Okay, such kind of errors are a success statuses. If you got a success proper response, then you say that success status is passed or failed or error or communication problem. Such kind of errors will be defined in a fault element of the SOAP request. And the body which carries the information, like your for example login screen is there. Okay, login XML is there, in which you will be passing username and the password, and you will send the request to the server. Okay, server will look for a username provided credentials, and if the given credentials are correct, then it will respond back. So then in the fault element, what happens? In the fault element, it will say that in the response it's a authenticated. But if the given credentials are incorrect, then it will say that invalid credentials. Enter password or a email in a correct way. Okay, such kind of information will be available in the body, the message content. Okay, parameters in body. Okay, and erroneous message in a fault element. Okay, the envelope element shows that what kind of XML is this one. Okay, envelope element says that whether it's a SOAP message or another message. Header information, it will have the information about the SOAP request. Again, it is a optional one. Okay, and the body will have the data which need to be passed, and the fault will have the erroneous messages and success messages. Okay, based on the response, this fault element will be invoked in the SOAP request. Okay, so about this WSDL and all, we will discuss later part. Okay, now we will come back to the slides and